The big question for this segment is, do ecosystems represent a new level and type of complexity? In this lesson, I will introduce you to another complex system, the ecosystem. To quote Lee, ecological complexity refers to the complex interplay between all living systems and their environment and the emergent properties. The concept of ecological complexity emphasises the richness of ecological systems and their capacity for adaptation and self-organisation. The complex nonlinear interactions affect, sustain, or are influenced by all living systems, including humans. The goal of studying ecological complexity is to enable us to explain and ultimately predict the outcome of such interactions. By now you will know that complex systems are composed of a set of parts or elements, which can themselves be complex systems. These elements are in some way interdependent. They form part of an organisation that they contribute to and are dependent upon. Complex systems may have a hierarchical structure with smaller elements nested within subsystems, which are in turn nested within larger subsystems, and so on. This is a classic description of ecosystems and biological organisation. To demonstrate this, let's zoom through the hierarchy of biological organisation. The foundations of life are the elementary particles that make up atoms. Moving up a level of organisation, we have atoms that make up molecules. Molecules lead to cells. Higher organisms develop through the collective organisation of many cells and are another example of a complex system. Multiple organisms of the same type that co-occur in time and space give rise to a population. Populations of different species that coexist can be described as communities, and multiple communities compose ecosystems. Hence, we have a pattern of nestedness whereby smaller elements are nested within larger structures. But the individuals and communities within ecosystems are not just co-occurring, they're also interacting with one another and with their abiotic environment. This leads us to the definition of ecosystems as a physical system composed of a set of biotic and abiotic elements that are interdependent. These interdependencies can be expressed diagrammatically through food webs. Food webs illustrate the interconnection of food chains and highlight how a given species is dependent upon others for a particular resource, in this case, food. They can also be used to surmise how changes to a population of one species may directly or indirectly affect populations of other species. For example, the basis of an Australian grassland ecosystem are the primary producers, plants such as gum and wattle trees and grasses. These receive their energy from the sun. Feeding on the primary producers are the primary consumers, various insect herbivores such as crickets and termites, and vertebrates including kangaroos, honey-eaters and wombats. Secondary consumers, predators such as echidnas and frill-necked lizards, may feed upon the termites and crickets, while tertiary or apex predators like dingoes feed upon echidnas and lizards. Finally, recycling of dead organic matter via detritivores links all species back to the base of the food web. As such, food webs illustrate the flow of energy and matter through an ecosystem. By themselves, simple diagrams of food webs belie the complexity of ecosystems. Another characteristic of these systems is that through the interactions of individuals, particular patterns or behaviours emerge that might not be apparent at lower levels of organisation. These include interspecific competition, mutualism, predator-prey and host-parasite interactions. Ecosystems are also highly dynamic systems that exhibit changes over time due to internal and external processes, which are regulated by negative and positive feedback loops. Feedbacks are processes that arise from the interaction of two or more agents. That is, a change in X affects Y, which in turn causes another change in X, and so on. Negative feedback loops are stabilising, they restore balance. In contrast, positive feedback loops are self-reinforcing. They amplify and drive nonlinear or exponential growth or decay, creating disturbances. Positive feedbacks can also be a source of instability, causing changes in the ecosystem if it is driven beyond the boundary of its normal operating parameters. As a result, ecosystems may transition from one state to another. This flipping is characteristic of non-linear systems and complex systems in general. As an example of these transitions, consider the process of eutrophication. As excessive nutrients enter a clear water ecosystem dominated by submerged macrophytes, it can lead to an algal bloom. This can cause sunlight to be attenuated in the water column, and oxygen can be depleted as plants die. Decomposition of organic material further depletes oxygen, causing fish and other organisms to die. The clear water system has now transitioned to a turbid water one dominated by phytoplankton. Ecosystems can also be altered due to cascading effects of food webs, driven by changes in the abundance of a key predator. For instance, increases in human visitors to Zion Canyon in Utah resulted in the displacement of the cougar population. The cougar prey on mule deer, which feed on trees such as cottonwood. The decline of the cougar population allowed mule deer to increase in abundance. More deer meant more feeding on cottonwoods, leading to lower recruitment of these trees. Decreased tree frequency led to erosion along riverbanks, altering characteristics of river channels and ultimately leading to a decline in riparian biodiversity. Ecosystems can also be described as complex adaptive states. That is, ecosystems can be altered due to perturbations, as previously mentioned, but also due to evolution of their components. Indeed, evolution is a classic emergent behaviour of an ecosystem. Evolution is responsible for ecosystem diversity, just as ecosystem diversity can lead to evolution. This is because selection pressures arising from intra- or interspecific interaction can result in one variant of a species being more successful than another. For example, the evolution of predators and prey, or hosts and parasites, have driven myriad behaviours and physiologies. For a predator, these may include ways of hiding while approaching the prey, stealth and camouflage, sensors to aid with finding prey, and approaches to killing and consuming prey. Prey too have evolved methods to avoid being killed, including hiding from predators through stealth and camouflage, sensors to detect predators, behaviour such as aggression or mobbing, and structures or chemicals to deter predators. Finally, it is by studying ecosystem complexity that we can deepen our appreciation of how biodiversity and ecosystem functioning influence and are influenced by human activities and well-being. Understanding ecosystem complexity and the resilience of ecosystems to perturbations will improve our ability to protect, manage and restore natural systems, and to predict the impacts of environmental and climate change.